Welcome to the Ciphered Reality Podcast from RITC Cybersecurity, small businesses partner in proactive cybersecurity. I am Mike Rotundo. Here with me is a guest host, Nikki Rodriguez, one of our support and sales team. Mari's taking a couple episodes off. Today, we're going to unravel the mysteries of cybersecurity one bite at a time. We explore digital heists, hacker exploits, uncover online threats, and the strategies to stay ahead. Whether you're an IT pro, business owner, or just safeguarding your personal stuff, this is your guide to the cyber world. Today, we're going to go through some cybersecurity news and discuss what, Nikki?
So, topic for this week are going to be on tips for safe online shopping and avoiding fake sites right in time for the holiday season.
Nice.
And I
Okay.
mean, we do it all anyways, all the time. So,
Yeah, it's definitely timely. Timely, timely. Yeah.
I do it anyways, all the
Yeah.
time. Some of this stuff I actually knew. Some of it I actually, when I was reading, it's pretty interesting. I'm like, oh, okay, like, me as a consumer and just starting to understand the cyber world, I'm like, that makes sense. Okay, this is stuff I
Yeah.
should actually be looking for. Okay, so our first news story is on a topic that we like to talk about right now. It's an AI topic. And
Okay.
this one is entitled from cybersecuritynews.com. It's Agent Session Smuggling, How Malicious AI Hijacks Victim Agent. Security researchers have uncovered a sophisticated attack technique that exploits the trust relationships built into AI agent communication systems. The attack, termed agent session smuggling, allows a malicious AI agent to inject covert instructions into established cross-agent communication sessions, effectively taking control of victim agents without user awareness or consent. This discovery highlights a critical vulnerability in multi-agent AI ecosystems that operate across organizational boundaries. It goes on to say how agent session smuggling works. The agent targets systems using agent to agent protocol, an open standard designed to facilitate interoperable communication between AI agents regardless of vendor or architecture. A2A protocol stateful nature is ability to remember recent interactions and maintain coherent conversations between the attack's enabling weakness. Do you want to
Yeah.
clarify that a little bit?
So what this does is it's hard because the stateful nature means that it's keeping things clean and in a proper order and format so that things are translated properly. What this does is it tricks the agent into smuggling different mo threat modes into like rogue AI agent couldn't hold conversations, adapt the strategy, build false trust over multiple interactions. So basically, stateful is. It's like stateful packet inspections on a firewall. It's inspecting packets, making sure they make sense and that sort of thing. So AI has that part in communications. What this does is it breaks that section and it brings in new data and it's actually pretty insidious. And what we're finding also is that we're finding agent AI hacks that are also going into, being persistent in memory. So AI, which was once thought invulnerable because it's AI, is now, extremely vulnerable and extremely dangerous. And this stuff is coming out because people are researching, but the hackers have already found it.
So, like in like AI wise, would this be like a tool that a company itself is
It,
using, or is this like everyday consumer AI, like Gemini or one of those that somebody's
it's
using?
actually something into smuggling different mo threat modes into like rogue AI agent couldn't hold conversations, adapt the strategy, build false trust over multiple interactions. So basically, stateful is. It's like stateful packet inspections on a firewall. It's inspecting packets, making sure they make sense and that sort of thing. So AI has that part in communications. What this does is it breaks that section and it brings in new data and it's actually pretty insidious. And what we're finding also is that we're finding agent AI hacks that are also going into, being persistent in memory. So AI, which was once thought invulnerable because it's AI, is now, extremely vulnerable and extremely dangerous. And this stuff is coming out because people are researching, but the hackers have already found it.
So, like in like AI wise, would this be like a tool that a company itself is using, or is this like everyday consumer AI, like Gemini or one of those that somebody's
It's
using?
actually something that's it's generally an AI that a company would be using because it is something that has to be persistent. Because if you're just going to like DuckDuckGo or something like that and you're using,
Yeah.
the AI during your browser session, then that's not going to be this. This is going to be if you have a ChatGPT Teams client or you have something like that. So something that you're persistently in, um,
Okay.
because that's where that would be. That's where that would make sense. It wouldn't make sense for me. And now I see the bigger risk being like in an AI browser or something of that nature. Because,
This being like a company using within their network, like using an AI browser for
well,
their employees.
if you're using an AI browser, anybody can use an AI browser. So
Right.
if they're out there, so that from that perspective, from the home user or individual user, an AI browser would be the risk I see in this. From a
Okay.
company perspective, it would be both the AI browser and it would be also the AI tool because it
So
has to
is
be
it like the AI
persistent.
tools then real quick, is it like the AI tools, like let's say I go to like a website
Mhm.
and like you're asking questions and it's an AI person thing responding? Is that what they're getting into at that point?
No, no, no. This is inside of an actual. This would be like an actual AI tool. This isn't like a random like you're doing like an IVR or anything like this. This is
Okay.
something that you're actually using like in a work context or in a browser
Okay.
context or something
Okay.
like that. So
Okay.
it's not this is not a random AI risk. This is something that you have persistently access to because it has to, in order for it to be effective, it has to remain going. It's
Okay.
not a drive-by. It's a consistent, persistent um, risk, basically.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And then like how are they is that now when your cybersecurity professional steps in like, hey, we gotta get something in place to get this under control?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's and that's the problem is that nobody's really, I mean, we can use the tried and true methods of, basic security, and that's what we
Yeah.
try to do with AI, but the AI evolves so quickly, there is no true security saying, the frameworks aren't even written by ISO, and the ones for
Yeah.
NIST are still, kind of, version one-ish, kind of things where they're still trying to figure them out. So I think the ISO one's not is supposed to be done in official in January, but the problem is there, it takes 3 years or 2 years to write a framework. Well, AI is going to be a completely different animal in 2 years. But
100%.
if you look for specific things, and again, this is where you're looking for specific generalities of how we can secure things, but the specifics, they're just not going to be out there right now. So
Yeah, it's definitely a proceed with caution.
yes,
It's
100%.
like, do I want to use it? But I'm also paranoid at the same time.
Yeah, no, yeah, you got to be really careful. And you're gonna, as you start doing, if you do more and more podcasts, or as you do more and more podcasts, you're gonna realize you're gonna catch something called breach fatigue, where you'll start reading this stuff and you're just like, oh God, not one more thing, another thing I got to worry about. Great, and they just
Uh,
starts to be like you get numb to it after a while.
yeah, I mean, even when I was taking my cyber terrorism class in college, I mean, the amount of news that was out there, I was like, what the heck? And that's when I got interested in it. 'Cause I was like, this is serious. This is like
Yeah,
really going on like 24 hours a day, 24/7. This is wild. And I didn't,
yeah,
this is where it's at.
yeah. I was actually contacted by a marketing podcast company, and they want to have. I'm going to be on it sometime in the next couple weeks. We're going to be doing a podcast with them, and um, they, he kind of does an interview on, what's going on because he just wanted some fluff, and I started going into stories, and Mari started going into stories, and the guy's like, "Oh my God, I got to get you on as soon as possible," because it's like he's like, I'd heard some of this, but I had no idea it was this bad, and that's really the
Yeah.
gist of it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
so
that bad. So, all right. Let's move on to our next one.
okay,
Um, let's do this one's hackers actively scanning for TCP port, port 8530 and 8531, linked to WSUS vulnerability CVE 2025 59287.
Okay.
And this one also comes from cybersecuritynews.com. Um, Little brief on this one. Cybersecurity researchers and firewall monitoring services have detected a dramatic surge in reconnaissance activity targeting Windows servers update services infrastructure. Fantastic.
Yeah.
We love that because I have Windows and we've talked about why I hate my
Yeah.
computer.
Yeah.
Network sensors collected from security organizations, including data from shadow servers, show a significant increase in scans directed at TCP ports 8530 and 8531 over the past week. While some scanning activity appears connected to legitimate security research initiatives, analysts have identified additional traffic from unknown sources not associated with known research organizations, raising concerns about potential exploitation attempts. The scanning activity correlates directly with CVE 2025 59287, a critical vulnerability in WSUS servers that enable remote code execution. Attackers can exploit this flaw by connecting to vulnerable WSUS infrastructure via either port 8530, that one's an unencrypted, or 8531 TLS encrypted, successfully establishing a connection that allows threat actors to execute arbitrary scripts directly on compromised servers with no authentication requirements.
Yeah. Pretty scary.
Like that. Yeah,
Yeah. So go ahead.
that is scary.
Yeah.
I'm a
Uh,
Windows user, and we talk about that, and I don't like that it just likes to do its own updates and the things that it does, and it makes me very nervous.
yeah. And just ladies and gentlemen in the audience, you all have heard how my love for Microsoft is so fervent and burns. This is Nikki's first podcast. I didn't tell her to pick a Windows story, and she found it on her own. So,
I
you
found it
know,
because I'm scared because I have Windows and I don't
yeah.
want it anymore.
So, yeah, there's no bias here. Nikki just randomly picked this story. It just happened. So, anyway,
Working on getting better,
WSUS
Mike. I'm
servers,
sorry.
the Windows Service Update servers. So this is poisoning the supply chain. I mean, really, what this is basically, you're going to trust this server because it's the Windows Server Update service, and the problem is they found a way to exploit 8530 and 8531, and there's really no protection that they have in here other than, well, you can go to MFA or trying to go to MFA, but if this is an automated update, then what are you going to do? Um,
Is there a reason they picked those specific TCP ports? Because I know I was reading like there's like 0 through 65,500 whatever. So
yeah,
why specifically those two? Like why is it targeting those two?
because there's a thing out there called spray and pray. So what they do is they will continually scan servers out there, and there's like Shodan that just does it. Some of that Shodan does is business related, but it's also used leveraged by dark web. And what it does is the idea is that they're just scanning and they're looking for things, and they're like, well, let's try 8530 or 8531. You got to keep in mind that cybersecurity criminals are now organized like companies. They're just not randos sitting in their basement. They are actual companies. So they're looking for anything they can, and they do their R&D, and then they'll this POC, this proof of concept, it's
Hmm.
probably been out there for a year. And they've been trying to figure out how to make it work. Well, suddenly it's starting to work. And so they actually do research and they do R&D just like a regular company was, but their goal is to break things. So
Right.
that's how, and it's just not, I mean, but yeah, right, there's 65,000 plus ports. Um, and so that's 65,000 plus vulnerabilities. And then if you have 20 servers in your environment, that's 130,000 some or 101.3 million or billion or whatever vulnerability attack vectors in your environment. So
Yeah.
that's why this is so critical that everything stays patched, everything stays updated, everything stays, but CVE 2025, that means it's a 2025. This is brand new.
Yeah.
But there is a patch out there, but it's amazing how many people don't patch still, even with automated patching in place.
And so obviously with all those servers, like how many people do you feel like it affects that are within those ports?
Well, I think the attack base, if when this is a 0 day, is everybody with Windows infrastructure.
Fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So throw my computer in the trash is what you're saying.
well, this is targeting servers, so it's not necessarily in computer, home desktops or anything like that, but it's targeting servers. Um, But yeah, so they're just running arbitrary scripts and they're trying to, no authentication requirements. And considering it's over TLS, TLS was encryption. TLS replaced SSL because SSL got breached. Now they got TLS out there. And now they've found a way around TLS. And now and the bigger risk with that is it looks like legitimate traffic.
Wow.
So, at this point, any of your countermeasures, when they go off, you got to assume you're already breached. It's already done. You've already been exploited. Hopefully, your countermeasures are catching it soon enough that it's not too much damage. So, yeah,
That's fun.
yeah,
Fantastic. Well,
yeah.
I feel bad about myself for not being full Apple, but whatever.
Soon enough. Soon enough.
I'm still a lowly Windows Microsoft user, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We've got another one. Um, Also, this one's about Microsoft, and I thought this one was actually really interesting because I know so many people that are using Microsoft Teams right now, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh no, this is bad. And this
Yep.
one's really interesting because I actually looked at when I was reading the article, it actually has a picture to show you an example of how they do it and what it looks like. It was really
Yeah.
interesting. So this one's also from off of cybersecuritynews.com. They had some really good ones this past week. Um, Hackers can exploit Microsoft Teams vulnerabilities to manipulate messages and alter notifications. Fantastic.
Uh-huh.
Um, so this one, critical vulnerabilities in Microsoft Teams, a platform central to workplace communication for over 320 million users worldwide,
That's
enable
a lot.
attack. That's a big number.
Yeah.
That's a scary number. Enable attackers to impersonate executives and tamper with messages undetected. That was the picture. It shows it as a CEO. That's what it was able to get in and put itself as a CEO. This is
Hmm.
what this actor is doing. It's pretty scary. So you think you're getting, information or notifications or a message from your CEO, and it's not that person. That's kind of scary. These vulnerabilities, now patched by Microsoft, allowed both external guests and insiders to spoof identities in chats, notifications, and calls, potentially leading to fraud, malware disruption, and misinformation. Checkpoint disclosed the issue to Microsoft responsibly in March 2024. So this is a newer thing. The issues highlight how trust and collaboration tools can be weaponized by sophisticated threat actors targeting remote work infrastructure. Launched in 2017 as part of Microsoft 365, Teams integrates chat, video calls, file sharing, and apps, making it indispensable for business from startups to Fortune 500 companies. Checkpoint's investigation focused on the web version's JSON, where messages include parameters like content, message type, client message guide, and display name. Attackers exploited these to edit messages without the quote unquote edit label by reusing client message guides, effectively rewriting history without traces. That's insane.
Yeah. So what they're doing is manipulating the message IDs and they're
Yeah.
making so yeah, it's kind of like a man in the middle attack almost in that they're changing the use data and this is a legitimate message ID. Well, we're changing the legitimate message ID and moving it into something that we're using to exploit you because of this vulnerability. It's pretty insidious.
So would it be like someone like posing as like the big boss, the CEO,
Yeah.
messaging you and telling you to do something like, oh, send over these files or whatever. And then you just, okay, no problem. And you send them to wherever you're like just following instruction like you think you're supposed to. And then they're exploiting you.
Yeah, and so what they're doing is actually taking a message. It could be me, we're both working in accounting, and I'm just like, hey, Nikki, do you want to meet for coffee in 5 minutes? And they're
Wow.
taking that message and they're using that ID because that's a legitimate ID, and they're saying, hey, Nikki, this is the CFO. I need you to transfer $50,000 to this account.
Right. That's yeah. So these are probably like terrorists and state actors and stuff going on because it's
Most likely APTs, advanced persistent threat. Yeah, that's
yeah.
most likely because as sophisticated as this is, it's most likely an APT. The problem is that once it gets out, the APTs use it, they will sell it to everybody else.
What you're
So,
saying is we need to figure out how to do this to come up on some extra cash
yeah,
during the
yeah,
holiday season for my online shopping.
exactly, exactly.
My new task I'm taking on.
There you go.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy because like we were kind of discussing beforehand on this one. Um, I know someone that was just using it as an attorney for a multi-billion dollar company
Hmm.
that's in the medical field. And I'm like, okay, this is really scary because
Yeah.
they can get hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just like just small little companies that are using it. Like the story says, it's these big companies, Fortune 500 companies. Like that's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. So I can
Oh
only
yeah.
imagine like the exploits that can go on out of them.
Yeah. And the bad thing is that the Fortune 500 company will survive it.
Right.
If you're, mom and pop and you're a
Yeah.
20-person company and you do maybe 20 million a year or 10 million a year or 5 million a year or 1 million a year and you get something like this, it gets game over. Could be
Yeah.
anyway. So,
So, in this scenario, what can people do then to like protect themselves? Or like you, like let's just say I'm an everyday, like you said, I'm working in accounting. How do
mhm.
I know? Like, how do I like stay aware, like recognize, like what are like markers that we can look for as
So
an average human being?
this has the same problem that the WSUS one has that we talked about at the beginning because they're using legitimate functions of the business to do the exploit. So there's really, and it makes it that much harder to catch. So you're going to have to find some way persistently identify. First of all, Microsoft have to come up with a patch for this.
Okay.
Um, Second of all, because this is obviously there's a flaw in the software. That's going to be the first step. Second of all, is going to be training. But again, it goes back to the same thing with the WSUS, is that are you patching? Are you able to patch? And then do you patch? Is your patching up to speed? Because the it's just that the external guests pretending to be insiders is a risk. But if you get an insider threat in there, like we've had that story. It was a month or two. Well, actually, it's more than that. Where
Mhm.
there was a lady actually in Arizona that had 86 laptops in her house that were connected to people in North Korea that were pretending to be Americans working at American companies. Um,
Where
and
was she located
she was in Gilbert, I think.
at?
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't hear that story, but this is
yeah.
fascinating.
So
Now I want to
what
look that one up.
what she was doing was basically they were giving her like a 75% cut of the salary. They were only taking 25%, but they were stealing a heck of a lot more than that. So, but it was North Koreans that were doing it, and yeah, it was a big deal.
That's wild. I wonder how much electricity she was using up in her home.
I don't
And
think it
that's
mattered to her. I think she walked. I think
well,
they
that I
nailed.
would
She had stolen
think
over
that that
$20
might
million
like
dollars.
alert the electric company. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, it was like if people were like growing marijuana illegally in their home, like the electric company were like, geez, their electric bill's really high for a family of two. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Oh
how did
yeah.
this lady get caught doing that?
I
So I'd
don't
be
know.
like, does that like alert anyone that way? Like, that's insane.
I don't,
86.
yeah.
She's bold. I give her that. That's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
It was like she had like entire rooms of just these racks, and it was laptop. It was all. But think about the amount of bandwidth she's using. I mean, why isn't her ISP going, oh, wait a minute?
That's what I'm saying. Did nothing
Yeah.
like alert anyone? There had to be something where like this is just not normal behavior for like
Yeah.
Karen living by herself in Gilbert. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But the problem is that authorities aren't looking for this. I don't know. I don't remember how they found it. And Mari and I did this story. I want to say it was at least 3 months ago, maybe longer. I don't remember how they found her. I think they tracked one of the behavior of one of the alleged employees and then tracked it back to her and went, "Holy crap! We've got all this,"
Good
and
Lord.
because
Because
they
that could have
tracked the
gone on
IPs
for God
back.
knows how long. If
They
how
said
this,
years.
yeah, that's
Because
insane.
yeah,
And that's what's scary is like we don't realize that this is like, yeah, some of it's happening overseas, but yeah, some of it's like they've got people stateside like that
yeah.
that are doing this. That's pretty
Well,
it's
money talks, right? I mean, that's really what it
yeah,
comes down to. There's a lot
that's
of
really
people
what
that
all
will
of it
do
comes down to.
anything for a dollar. So,
Yeah. Yeah, but like you're saying, this story that we were talking about, I think it's sad that, like you said, like Fortune 500 company is going to survive it, but a smaller company, like that's it for them. Like
Right.
that's lights out, and it's pretty scary. So I'm really hoping that Microsoft figures this one out
Yeah.
um real quick, because I know even like just recently they had an outage. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that. It was just a couple
Hmm.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because there's certain applications I use for like my other work and stuff with scheduling. It was gone. And so I contacted my boss for that and I go, anyone else complain? Like, yeah, Microsoft had an outage. I said, you mean Microsoft messed up and somebody got in and messed something up in
Yeah.
Microsoft and they don't want to admit it, is what they're
Ex
telling me. He's like, no, they
exactly.
said it was an outage. I'm like, great. So that's we messed up and someone got in and we're trying to cover it up for everyone.
Yeah. Usually they cover it with like, oh, it was a DNS issue. It's
Yes,
like,
that's exactly. I was
yeah.
laughing. I was like, somebody hacked Microsoft and now we're all screwed. So that's
Yeah.
good. I hope none of my information is floating out there.
Yeah. No kidding.
That was
No
like,
kidding.
but yeah. So Microsoft needs to get it together clearly
Yeah.
with this. Okay, we have one more story here before we go into the topic of the week. And this is actually another AI story, but it's from a different website this time that I found, and
Nice.
I liked this story. It's from securityboulevard.com. I just found it
Okay.
randomly. It's pretty interesting, but here's a little brief on this one. The AI hacking era is here, and it's reshaping the human risk landscape as we know it, with good and bad actors increasingly using generative AI, Gen AI, to deploy and defend against attacks. Organizations must understand the root of it all. It's people. We know that. The
Yeah.
2025 data breach investigations report by Verizon found that 60% of cybersecurity breaches involved human element. So people aren't going away just
No.
because technology is here. You need to
No.
understand that.
Yeah.
It's also going to be humans that end up beating the technology, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Seeing how easily mistakes are made, AI is positioned to take advantage of human flaws. Despite most organizations being aware of this, 81% are concerned about Gen AI leading to sensitive data leaks. Over half, 55%, aren't prepared with strategies for AI driven threats, kind of what we were talking about earlier,
Hmm.
showing a significant gap in readiness. It's abundantly clear that AI is drastically changing the human risk landscape. To close that readiness gap, it's critical to work directly with people to develop strategies and adapt accordingly to as Gen AI's role continues to evolve in cybersecurity. So I don't know if you want to talk about
Yeah.
that a little bit and thoughts.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah,
So this is a double-edged sword because on multiple levels, actually probably like a three-edged sword or four-edged sword. But you
yeah,
have so Gen AI people. I mean, people don't trust it. People are. What I found is there's two camps. There's either
hmm,
people that love AI and think it's bulletproof and it'll never get hacked and everything's
yes,
perfect, and AI
yes,
is the solution. It's this benevolent cyber being that is running our lives. There's
yes,
other people that don't trust it at all, and I would say we shade towards that side of it a little
yes,
bit. And then, there's some people that are like, yeah, I'll use it for certain things, which is kind of the way I do it. But the thing is that AI, the problem that this author's pushing, which is why we have to be very careful with the bias in some of these authors, is
hmm,
let AI take care of it. The problem is AI is not right all the time. You have to have human and AI working together from a security standpoint.
right,
And you should never be dependent on AI because if you are too over dependent on AI, you start losing comprehensive skills like, problem solving and that sort of thing. So it becomes a problem.
yes,
And so we have to deal with things like that. And then lastly, the bigger problem is long term for the cybersecurity industry. What's happening is it's taking longer and longer and longer for someone in with a CIS degree to get a job.
yeah,
It used to be like, oh, you can spell CIS, yeah, you get a job. But now it is 2.5 to 3 years. And because everybody wants somebody with experience. And it's kind of funny because a couple of years ago, everybody wanted, the 20 somethings. Well, now they want guys my age. And we're like, yeah, we
yeah,
ain't working for those wages. So, and I'm not
right,
working those hours, but yeah, we know you need us. So add another 100K to that and I'll talk to you.
right,
But the problem is that we start waiting out those lower end people that used to train on the jobs that AI is doing. They're losing all that tribal knowledge. They're losing all that information, and they're losing that skill. They're not building. I mean, I bring this up all the time. Is
Mhm.
my first job? My first job interview was, here's a stack of floppies. Build me a server and build me a mail server, and not even just a mail server, but it was a Lotus Notes mail server, and it's like you got 2 days. So I'm like, okay. So I sat there. They gave me 16 hours. I think I got it done in 12 to get this thing done. So, but it's 1.44 floppy at a time. So I mean, there's only so much you could do.
Yes.
But anyway, so that's the risk that, I mean, there's a multi-level risk is that people are over dependent on it. People don't trust it at all. Some people are light
Right.
defenders. Some people, it could be damaging. It'll be damaging to the long term of the cybersecurity industry as it goes. Plus, AI is also making our threats that much more in depth and much more dangerous because as it
Yeah.
mimics human interaction. So,
Right. Do you feel like as far as like our industry, obviously now I know like you were saying that there's now offered that, federally recognized certifications
mhm.
in AI and stuff. And it's probably just a matter more of anything, just upkeeping as information is, like with with any type of work or line of work that you're in, where you need to keep up with what's current. Obviously, like you can have all these certifications you got 20 years ago, but they're not relevant now to what's going on, which is obviously AI. So now
Right,
it's upkeeping on the education constantly of the ever-changing AI. So, like you're
right,
saying, like I don't think you should have like obviously someone like you that has like 30 years under your belt in this
yeah,
industry, but you've grown with your industry, right? And you continue
mhm,
to educate yourself with it. Um, these younger kids or like people like me that are breaking into it, this is like probably something we really need to focus on at this point because that's like the way that things are
yeah,
moving. And I think it's maybe understanding that like start focusing on this because if you understand that this is the way that things are moving into the future, like AI is probably our number one
mhm,
friend and foe. We've talked about it, like even for us, we were talking about like AI pen tests now, like you give it one specific thing to do that is it's good for us in the
right,
cyber community. But we
right,
also have people in that community that understand how to do that and how to train it to do one task. It
right,
becomes dangerous, I think, with the general public who doesn't know what they're doing and they don't realize that they're slowly training it sometimes to do not good things.
right. Exactly, exactly. And there's really very few guardrails on AI to protect it from, you know, what needs to be done. So protect the user themselves from basically damage. I mean, it's just like, we could talk about for this hours. We could talk
Yeah.
about this subject for days.
Yeah.
Um, but AI is just scary, and you have to be really careful with it as it evolves because there's going to be more and more hacks. There's going to be more and more threats. There's going to be more. But the other thing is we can't forget hackers are just as deadly without it. They don't
Yeah.
need AI. So you've got to keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Now this is just
Every
one more thing to be worried about, kind of
right.
thing.
Yep,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, and the story it gives like a little like some examples of stuff that it's doing. And one of them that I found interesting because I've actually read multiple stories now of this happening is the deep fake audio calls.
mhm,
Um, and people aren't realizing that it's getting to the point of where they're able to mimic voices of even your friends and family. And so like
mhm.
it's getting to the point of where like parents are getting calls of like their kids being needing to be
Kidnapped.
ransomed. There's teenagers. I was just reading a story actually. It happens here in Arizona a lot because we're a border community where they are using it for human trafficking. So like you
Hmm.
get teenage girls and have them like basically fall in love with this AI thing,
Right.
and they'll drag them out and make them meet them out in the desert, and they take them, and that's it. They're over the border and they're gone. And
Yeah.
so I think it's being aware of um, the fact that there's deep fake calls, like just being aware, like stop and think first. Don't just panic and start handing over like ransom or whatever,
Right.
contact authorities, like, really think about it first because AI is now to the point of where it can mimic human beings, like faces, voices. I mean, it's pretty realistic. And some of it that I've seen, it's pretty frightening.
Yeah.
So I think it's just being just being more aware. And like we said, there's good and bad to it. I think like just, you know that it has good cause, but also understand like on a daily level, as just a regular consumer, if you don't have education on it, that you really need to proceed with caution, is what I would
Yeah,
say with it.
exactly.
Like, leave it to the professionals.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
Oh
think,
boy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. It is. It's a scary, scary world that we live in. Um, all right, let's talk about the topic. Let's get off AI doom and gloom here for a little bit.
I mean, I feel like it's like preaching the gospel. You're spreading good
Yeah,
news.
yeah.
Sounds bad, like you're
Proselytizing.
going to hell, but also you need to hear this.
Exactly.
It's ups and downs.
Exactly.
But anyways, topic for the week. So, like we said, just in time for a holiday time, but I use it all the time because I don't like to leave my home. Tips for safe online shopping and avoiding fake sites. And
Yeah.
so, some of it I kind of knew, some of it I didn't know. I was kind of like reading up on it. I mean, like there was ones I personally knew, and I hope that other consumers know, like checking the URL or for the HTTPS and like the little padlock symbol up
Mhm.
there that you got, like little simple stuff like that. I kind of like, I don't know, I knew that maybe just from word of mouth.
Right.
Um, I don't know if that's a common one for people to know or
I,
whatever,
I
but
I think not. I think that gets missed all the time.
does it really?
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe someone had explained that to me. Who knows? I'm sure that knowledge was shared with me. Like,
Well,
don't do that. Like, I've had my card information stolen. I'm not gonna lie. I've made that mistake in the past. So I think now
mhm.
I proceed with
Yeah.
caution because I
Yeah.
was a
Hey, did you
so
realize that Amazon's URL spelled funny? I wonder if there's a
yeah.
problem there. I was like, yeah, that's because it's not Amazon.
Yeah, so that was one of the ones when I was like reading about it, it said make sure like it actually matched the website, like Amazon.com, not .net, something
Dot
else.
org, yeah.
Yes, and so there's been times I'm not gonna lie, I've clicked on stuff thinking that it's like, and then I look at them all, what is this?
Yeah.
This is not what I was trying to find, and I feel really stupid. I'm like, oh, because it's not the real website.
Yeah. Well,
Hopefully, I didn't click on anything else.
so if you ever like search on certain things like using Google, the thing you're looking for will come up and it'll say ad next to it the first time, and then you'll see the
Yeah.
real URL like five or six down. Well, that ad is generally some kind of spoofed or
Yes.
it has some kind of malware attached or it has some kind of connection. That was a big deal with like browser downloads for a while. You would like, I want to download Google Chrome, and you would get this Google Chrome, but it would be the wrong Google Chrome. It would be a Google Chrome loaded with adware.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, this was another, and this one I actually knew. Don't use public Wi-Fi when you're purchasing stuff.
Oh no. Yeah. Never.
Like, don't be sitting in your Starbucks
Right.
having your latte and Christmas shopping. Bad idea. Like,
Yeah.
not a good idea.
Yep. Yeah.
That one I knew, and I've heard them like the news has even broadcast this to people like don't buy stuff while you're on public Wi-Fi. Yet
Yeah.
I'm sure people continue to do
Oh
that.
God, yeah, all the time. Well, there's people that never turn their Wi-Fi connection off on their phones, and they'll just walk around. And what people don't realize is it's just looking for whatever Wi-Fi is out there, so it'll connect to it. So they'll leave, and by default, it's set to connect whatever Wi-Fi is available, so it'll just automatically connect. Well, there's a tool out there called a Wi-Fi Pineapple, which
Uh-huh.
basically is set up. It's sold by Hack5 and about 400 or 500 bucks now. But basically, it mimics Wi-Fi and it puts out Wi-Fi and then it runs everything through the attacker's computer. And there's people that will just sit in Starbucks and just use it, or people will take those things, they will put them inside a garbage can or inside something in like a major public place. They don't even have to be there. It's just
Oh, it's
because
like an actual little device
yeah,
that they're
it's a device. So, and it'll run for about 2 or 3 days. I mean, we used to do it when we did physical pen tests and we wouldn't turn them on, but you could like slip it in behind a cupboard somewhere or
how big
into
are
an
these
unused
things?
office. They're like maybe 3 by 5 by, two with antennas on them. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, more stuff to be
Nikki
aware
will
of.
no longer be leaving her home, ladies and gentlemen.
I like, yeah, I'm like slowly becoming a recluse, you guys. Like, I'm
Yeah.
actually kind of like, and I mean, I buy stuff online, but like I said, I'm like trying to be like more savvy, which I also learned, and maybe you can answer this. It said that credit cards are actually more secure for
Yeah.
fraud than a debit card. Why,
Oh
like,
yeah.
what is the reason behind that?
Because a credit card, with a credit card, the cash isn't out of your bank. With a debit card, cash goes out of your bank account immediately, right? Because
Right,
the bank won't stop it. With a
right.
credit card, it has to actually go through approval process and can claw, and the credit cards can claw back the cash, whereas a debit card won't.
Okay.
So,
So basically they're
so
gonna be more likely to get security alerted on
yeah, a
something
credit
like
card will give you your cash back or get you credited back and then go after the criminal for you, whereas and do it very quickly, whereas a bank will take for could take months. I mean, I haven't used a debit card anywhere else but a bank in probably 10 years, or if not longer.
oh, wow.
Because one time I used one on accident because it looked like my credit card at I think it was like a Costco gas pump or something like that. Next thing I know, I got, $13,000 worth of lumber in Ukraine and, heating oil in
Yeah,
Mongolia. And, it's
I've had
like,
those. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I
and all
remember
happening
like,
on the same day. And I contact the bank. I'm like, there's no way I could be in all those places at the same time.
yeah, I remember when like the whole like scanner thing on like in
Hmm.
public
Yeah.
um was like a big thing because that happened to me a couple times. I was like, I can't even like spend money and now we're to tap, but how safe is tap when you're
Right.
shopping?
Right.
I like that makes me nervous too. I'm tapping. I'm like, can there be some other device that when I'm tapping, it's also reading my
Right.
tap? Like, because now
Exactly.
that
Because that's being communicated over um, an unsecure chat.
fantastic. So how so good old fashioned cash in public is the way to go. So you don't get stuff stolen. Is apparently where we're at. Um,
Exactly.
I mean, this also said, like, from what I was seeing, and I get it, like, if you're not sure about a website, like, let's say you're making like a major purchase or whatever, just like look up the company on Better Business Bureau, um, and like make sure that it's a real company. Like,
Yeah.
just you can look up like reviews, and I've actually had to do this before. If the deal seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yes.
Look up the company, Google the company, look them up, make sure that
Yeah.
they're a legitimate company, how long have they been running, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all stuff that's out there in public. So I know I've actually done that a couple times where I've been kind of weary. Um, Back to the card thing, I thought it said like don't use gift cards or crypto, which makes sense because then how
Mhm.
are you going to get your money back? Like it's
Exactly.
yeah, like you're kind of screwed on that and that's the end of it. So they're just collecting and walking away laughing at you because they know now you have no way of even getting it back at all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? With the bank, you can at least like argue with your bank and you can go back and forth till they finally, a month later give you your money. But that made sense for those. We talked about don't click ads.
Yeah.
Don't pop-up ads are a big no-no.
Yeah.
Um, just don't touch them. They don't exist.
Yeah.
Pretend they don't exist. Like
Exactly.
if you want to see if it's a real deal, go Google the company and the website and look to see if that's actually a real thing. Because I feel like those are always. And then I didn't even know this. There's something called an Internet Crime Complaint Center, the
Yeah.
IC3. I didn't know that. I
That's the
didn't know.
FBI now. You used to have to
Yeah,
call them. Now they want you to just file a report online.
really.
Mhm.
So it's a branch off the FBI.
It goes to their cybercrime division, and then they actually use it to weed stuff out. And sometimes, when you get things that you have to file a complaint on, but you don't really need them to look into, then a previous startup that way you just get the complaint filed. But a previous startup I had, they someone started texting us saying, and it was a reused text, but it was like so and so that worked for you. They named some woman that didn't work for us. Was dating my husband, and then she threatened to kill me. And blah, unless you do, take care of this, we're going to call Fox News and blah, blah. And then that tenor went on for like, I don't know. There was probably 20 texts, and the guy that ran our operations is not a cybersecurity guy. He's like, "Do I need to respond?" I'm like, "No, you just file a complaint with IC3 and then cut off communications." But they were coming through
Yeah,
they were sending texts to our info email.
that's
Um,
insane.
yeah,
That's quite the exploit.
yeah. I mean, it wasn't going to go anywhere. I mean, obviously,
Right.
we were a company of five people, and the name that they kept giving us, like, I don't work here, and what
You're
do we
like,
care?
this is
But
nonsensical.
you don't want you want to get ahead of that. You want to file the complaint because you don't want them to say, "Well,
So
these
yeah,
guys
and
are
I saw where it was
non-responsive."
saying real quick, it said to report to the either to the FTC or IC3. So what's the difference
Yes.
between the two, or when would you choose to, or would you complain to both?
I would do I would do IC3 because that's the feds. That's the
Okay.
federal government. FCC is a federal government agency, but they're not an investigative agency like a criminal agency like the FBI is.
Okay. So it would be so if you have something like that happens where you like obviously you've been defrauded pretty
Yeah.
severely, which I'll tell you a real quick story, which is really funny about when I got fraud and
Yeah.
I actually figured out who the fraud person was. And the police department goes, how did you figure this out? I said, because it's not hard when you follow a trail and you're
Yeah.
really nice to people and you get them to give you information. So this is many moons ago when I still lived in Orange County in California. I lived in Fullerton. And this is probably, gosh, 8, 9, 10 years ago, 10 years ago. And I had like US Bank or whatever at that time.
Yeah.
And someone had made a bunch of fraudulent charges on my card. And one of them was like to an actual bank to open up a prepaid credit card.
Oh
Okay. It
wow.
was like a little private bank in LA. One of them was to pay an AT&T cell phone account.
Wow.
And then I forget what the third one was. So I just followed the trail. So I called and I was like, okay, this card number paid on this day, blah, blah, blah. And I remember no one could give me full names. So like we're not allowed to
Yeah.
disclose full names. I said, okay, well, the account that was paid for, they're like, we can only give you this information. And from there, I figured out with the AT&T account and I got figured out the first and last name of the person.
Mhm.
And then I called the bank and they said the same thing. They're like, well, we can't give information. I said, ma'am, all I need is a yes or no, or if you think I'm hot or cold on this. And
Yeah.
so I go, and I say the woman's name that I had, and she goes, hot. You go,
Thank you.
thank you for that. So then I went to one of my best friend, who actually was my roommate at the time. His
Yeah.
mom works in the legal field, and so they have access to like criminal background and stuff. And I give it to her, and I mean it's public information too. I look up this chick. Guess what? She's gone to jail more than once for fraud and
Yeah.
fraudulent stuff. So I gathered. I mean, I had like a file folder full of information, everything, the charges, everything, the account numbers that I found, and everything. And she lived in the city, I think of Costa Mesa at the time. And I drove to the police
Wow.
department and they look at me and they go, how did you figure this out? I said, listen, guys, I just gave you the golden goose here. Like, you don't even have to do your job.
Right.
All you have to do is look this up now, verify it, and go, oh, shoot, this lady did it. And go arrest her again for like, I don't know, like the fifth time that she's gone to jail for this.
All
Then I
right.
would
Well, on
reinstated her.
that high note with Nikki the Sleuth, we're gonna call this podcast. So, thank you all for listening. This has been the Ciphered Reality Podcast. Remember, cybercrime is bad. Love RITC Cybersecurity. Say goodbye to the good folks, Nikki.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a great day. I don't think we're off to the bar today. It's too early, but we're at least gonna have some fun.